Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman at the Hermitage Golf Course. We'll get with him momentarily. Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier, and the one and only Turron Davenport. TD. We're talking TD today, man, but we got to start with something.
That's
right. I'm a Knicks fan. The Knicks,
hey.
Last night, what a game.
Man,
oh,
I tell you what, I'm watching that game, and the Spurs ripped off to a 29-point lead. I'm texting my homie in New York, and I'm like, bro, the fix is in, man. The fix is in. These refs are point shaving. The Spurs can't miss. I don't know what the heck's going on, but the Garden is as quiet as it's ever been. And this is just a total mess. And he and I, we had to help each other's mental health.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, we were each other's counselor. I'm not a true Knicks fan anymore. You know what I mean? I was done with the Knicks after the Carmelo Anthony saga. Was done with them. But I grew up on them, so naturally I'm going to pull for them. And, man, what a win. I almost said Rick Brunson. You know what I mean? That's how I'm showing my age.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember watching Jalen Brunson's dad, Rick, at Temple University. I remember seeing him hoop throughout the city as well. But nevertheless, that dude, when he wants to find a bucket, he's going to get it. And what can you say about OG Anunoby? Man, that Tippin and Josh Hart, I tell you what, if they'd have lost that game, I don't know. If I was on that team, we might have had to squabble. You know what I mean? Because he was supposed to dunk.
Yeah.
And he tried to lay it in. It was reminiscent. It might be before your time.
The Pacers. The back of the rim. Patrick Ewing.
That one too.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I remember that one. But it was even a little bit further back. Charles Smith in 93, I want to say, against the Bulls.
You might be right there.
But nevertheless, they got the W. Biggest comeback in NBA Finals history, man.
29 points.
Be excited, man?
They led the first time in the game around like a minute 20 left or something like that.
It was
incredible.
Crazy. It was crazy.
I mean, look, you mentioned Jalen Brunson. For some reason, that fadeaway right elbow jumper is just automatic for him.
Automatic.
And I don't understand it. And you mentioned OG Anunoby there, that's somebody I've been kind of harping on the entire series. This guy's been averaging 17 points, probably a little bit more now after last night's performance, but he could be a sleeper to win MVP of this entire finals.
It's going to be Brunson,
sure,
but he could be a sleeper. And I think that tip in and just the threes, he hits some timely threes too, man. And he's just the defense, right? Everything. He's that guy. What do you call him? A glue guy?
Glue guy.
That's him.
That's right.
That's him. But the thing that's dope about that team is they have like 3 or 4 of them because Mikal Bridges is that guy too. And so is Josh Hart, even though he didn't dunk when he was supposed to.
It's all right.
But Josh Hart is scrappy, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah, 100%. You know, looking at OG Anunoby the way he played last night and also this entire series, he seems to have Victor Wembanyama's number for the most part. When it's defensively, offensively, I know ESPN TV broadcast highlighted it where OG likes to kind of drive into the paint on the right side down low and just takes a direct lane to the hoop. And you're just thinking, yeah, if nobody can stop that, and if Victor Wembanyama can't stop that, that is the secret weapon for the Knicks going into Game 5.
Yeah, it is. It is the secret weapon. And I think, this is one of those things where you got to remember, Wembanyama, what is he, 21?
Something like that. Very young.
And I've seen it before, like watching the old heads play with the young boys, and what you see is them getting like real physical and getting in their mind, and that's what you saw. But Wemby did a good job working through it, but at the same time, that wears on you, and it was just one of those things where the pressure just because remember he missed 2 free throws.
He did.
The pressure it was too much. But that Spurs team, they're gonna win a chip because Ron Harper's son. That guy is something special, too. Like, they're a bunch of very, very good young. Watch out. They're going to mess around and win maybe 2 or 3, to be honest with you, because you can't stop Wemby, to your point. And it's just so crazy how he can take boom, boom, 1-2 steps from, like, the top of the key. Well, not literally the top of the key, but from the corner on the foul line and get his shot. And then his pogo stick ability, too. Like, he's not only that tall, but he has bounce. You know what I mean? So where it's Dennis Rodman, like Richard Jefferson said last night.
Yeah.
It's Rodman, like the way he could, it doesn't go in, he could tap the back end, but then even like when he was on the ground and just grabbed it with his alien hand and just, palmed it and threw it back in. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean,
unstoppable.
You probably have to rename the Euro step for him to the continent step. I mean, it's just from left to right. You're already on one piece of land to the other.
Right.
This guy just goes in the – and the thing is, when you do those little alley-oops to Victor Wembanyama in the paint, like you said, puts a hand on it, and it just drops in the net. It's a cheat code to basketball, and it'll be fun to watch for years to come. But hopefully, fingers crossed, the Knicks can either close it out in 5 or back home to the Garden at 6.
Yeah. If I don't know, what do you want? You want to see him close it in 5, or you want to see Knicks in 6 at the Garden?
If the opportunity's there in 5, yeah, Knicks in 5. But I've been saying it since the beginning, Knicks in 6. I thought last night they would lose, and then they'd win in San Antonio, and then win tonight, win last night, lose in San Antonio, and then bring it back to 6. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, that's feasible. That's feasible.
But if the opportunity's there, take it.
Yeah, I can't see them losing this series now. Like, that game last night was a backbreaker. You know what I mean? A backbreaker for the Spurs. So if they win another game, cool, more power to them. But cancel Christmas in San Antonio, man. It's over.
I can only imagine what the streets of New York are going to be like. Obviously, have you seen those videos online circulating?
Crazy. Did you see Lamar Jackson was walking the streets?
Really?
Yeah, he was at the game, and he was walking to his hotel, and everybody was like, QB1, Lamar. And he was taking pictures with everybody. It was pretty cool. It's on social.
How much would you pay for a finals ticket if you had the opportunity? I've seen people pay $55,000, $4,300. I mean, I'd pass on it.
Look, I'm not a major NBA fan.
Right.
So, I mean, I'll go 1,000, maybe, which means, you know what? I won't be in the building.
Maybe you might be grabbing a hot dog and standing on the concourse. That's probably
it gets so as Charles Barkley calls it, the street meat.
Oh,
hey, let me tell you something, Nick.
Okay,
that chicken over rice with the salad and white sauce and hot sauce, it'll change your life.
Is that so?
It'll change your life. You eat some of that, man, you're gonna walk different. Let me tell you. That's every time I go to New York, I gotta get it. And the dope thing is they have it in Philly too. So I anytime like I go back up north, whether it's Philly or New York, I make sure I get that, man. You get that and a ginger ale, you good to go. You need a ginger ale because like I got a tender stomach, you know what I mean? So I definitely need it, but it helps like process everything.
Joining us now is the one and only Jake Lyman. His show.
Hey.
We've made it.
Jake.
Technology doesn't always want to cooperate with us, but we have made it. We're good.
You came in just in time for the lesson I was giving Nick about the street meat. in New York, the chicken over rice with salad with white sauce, hot sauce. You gotta have it.
I heard, was it Draymond and Malika Andrews talking about that pregame yesterday about Draymond saying he finally tried the street meat?
Yeah, and, he had too much white sauce on it, evidently.
What a game last night, though.
Man,
I know you guys, I'm sure, have been talking about it. 29 points, 27 at halftime. I was like, man, the Spurs really took that Game 3 win and just stole all the momentum from the series. And, man, the Knicks, one of the greatest comebacks of all time in any sport. To come back from 29 down and then pull it off the way they did with OG Anunoby's tip at the end. Unreal game last night.
Jake, I will venture to say that might have been one of the greatest comebacks in championship history.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not just like championship history in all sports. I don't know that I mean, the Patriots won. I don't know if you watched the post-game show, but somebody posted on because they pulled the X posting, and somebody posted the Spurs new logo, and it was the Falcons logo. So I say that game was probably right there, but man, what a game.
So here's where I will separate the two. If this was Game 7, then I think last night's game would have been the greatest comeback of all time. But because it was the Super Bowl and everything was on the line, winner hoist the Lombardi Trophy, I'm going to say 28-3 was the greatest comeback in championship history. But that one, I mean, the way they did it, and the Knicks, when their backs were against the wall, you're about to lose back-to-back games at home and have to head back to San Antonio tied, to come back and win that game, one of the greatest comebacks, one of the greatest collapses of all time. I mean, you can't give the Knicks all the credit. The Spurs should have won that game. I don't know what De'Aaron Fox was thinking at the end there, not just trying to run out the clock and taking a foul.
Man.
And then Jose Alvarado is about to run into the backcourt, and De'Aaron Fox says, you know what, I'm going to foul you for absolutely no reason. That ends up leading to the game-winning shot.
I'm not trying to accuse anybody or anything, but, man, however it works, I'm glad the Knicks won.
I'm not going to repeat some of the things that have been on Twitter about De'Aaron Fox, but if you haven't scrolled through X and see some of the things that Spurs fans are saying about De'Aaron Fox, there's some funny stuff out there.
You know the thing that's messed up, though, as Charles Barkley said, it's a 29-point lead that was
right.
erased.
It was a team collapse.
It wasn't just in fact, to keep it 1,000, Fox hit a couple key 3-pointers to, keep that tide from turning too much. And can we talk about, as Barkley pointed out, 8 consecutive? You up by 20+ points. Why on earth are you shooting 8 consecutive 3-pointers?
Yep. No, it was the team collapse, but Fox is going to get the brunt of the blame because of the moment at the end there where not only on the offensive side, but on the defensive side, he made plays that allowed the Knicks to come back and win that game. What a game last night. Knicks take a 3-1 series lead back to San Antonio, and we will see, can the Spurs pull off something that's only been done once in NBA Finals history when LeBron and the Cavs in 2016 came back from 3-1 against the Warriors. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got the technological issues figured out here. I am live out at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Excited to be out here. It is a gorgeous day. A little hot, but a gorgeous day here at Hermitage Golf Course. We will be out here all day. TD is with us for the first hours. He's got to get out there for the final day of Titans OTAs at Vanderbilt Health Sports Park. So we're going to get into plenty of Titans topics with TD coming up over the next 45 minutes. We'll start with Cam Ward coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Nick Frazier on the board today here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Nick Frazier with you on your Thursday morning. TD, loving it back at the studio. I didn't notice your shirt either, TD. You got you're repping the Vandy women's basketball.
Those are my ladies, man. My ladies. You know what I'm saying? My little Michaela Blakes, you know what I mean? Oh, you can't forget Aubrey. Hey, I haven't even got to catch up with Just Pizzat. How is she doing? Have you seen anything from her? She's in Indiana, right?
Yeah, so she is on the Fever. I believe they have her on a developmental contract, so she's not actually playing right now, but they've got her stored and trying to get her ready. So hopefully we'll be a piece of that team moving forward, but I don't believe she's played in the WNBA at all yet.
What about Jacqueline? Anything with her?
She played a little bit in the preseason. I don't know. I think she is on the Valkyries still in Golden State. I'd have to check on that. But they both made training camp. Sasha Washington was in Atlanta in training camp, and she just signed a deal overseas. So seeing the alums, they're making moves out there in the professional world.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Sasha Washington, she had a nice little post game. I want to see how the young was she from Brazil?
I want to Ubaka.
Yeah, I want to see how she develops too.
Yeah.
So.
She's coming in with Olivia Jones, and I think I've told you this. Josh Johnson's daughter, Jai Johnson, is going to be on the team next year.
Okay, let's go.
So we've got some fun freshmen, a couple of transfers. Mia Woolfolk is the big one from Georgia. So lots to be excited about this upcoming year.
Absolutely, man. Love to hear it.
I am out here at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Great event. Again, it's a beautiful day here out at a beautiful course. TD and Nick Frazier are back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Now, we don't have much time with TD today. Titans have their final day of OTAs before minicamp next week, so we want to get quickly into the Titans here. Yeah. TD, the big story this week has been around Cam Ward and some up and down days, Monday and Tuesday, some struggles with accuracy. What have been your impressions of the second-year quarterback as he tries to learn this Brian Daboll system heading towards training camp?
He's been inaccurate and inconsistent, both, and it's okay, right? So I think this is why, you know what this is, Jake? This is the opposite of all the hype with Carnell Tate. And what did we say with the Carnell Tate? Look, it's OTAs. Relax.
Pump the brakes a little bit.
He looks good, sure, but just understand it's OTAs. Just the same, look, it's OTAs. He looks bad. He has some pretty good throws as well. But see, this is the thing, and it's unfortunate because you have certain people in the media. You know what? I'm gonna just call a spade a spade. You got certain people in the media, right, where they watch practice. But them watching practice is the equivalent of me reading a Chinese phone book, right? Like, I don't know Chinese. So I can tell you I read the phone book, but that doesn't mean I know what I read. And unfortunately, we have people in the media who speak with authority and what I call arrogant ignorance. And they just say, hey, so-and-so sucks. So-and-so's a bust. Or so-and-so, context. So our job as being there is to provide context, but here's the problem, because a lot of these folks that speak that way, they have a following that wants that, right? It's no different than when you're driving on 24 and there's a car accident and everybody drives slow because they want to turn and look. People like car accidents, so they like that content. And if you don't provide that content, you provide context. Oh, well, you're excusing it. You're being, nobody's pumping rainbows. I'm just telling you what happened. So that being said, Jake, I will say this. That Monday, right, there were 4 overthrows. I don't know, whatever the stats were. I think keeping stats in OTAs is dumb. It's ridiculous. But nevertheless, and it's OTAs. But right. He had, I think he completed half of his passes, right? But I will tell you, it was like 8 out of 17 or something like that. 3, maybe 4 of them were overthrows or not overthrows, but throwaways because the secondary locked it down. You see the context there, right? So rather than just not doing anything, he threw the ball away, which is what you do in the game too. Like if it's not there,
Yeah.
don't take the sack, throw it away. Okay, so you got that. But then, oh, Cam Ward threw an interception. It was terrible. Oh, here. Well, what happened on that play is it was 4th down. It's 4th down.
Yeah.
Everything's covered. He tried to force one. It got picked. Does that mean that he's a bust? No. But at the same time, see, there's context to it, right? And I think that's the problem with the way we cover this sport is we're so quick to jump to a conclusion.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't even know what we're looking at.
I think the dialogue on both sides of Cam Ward, it's all confirmation bias. And I don't want this to seem like I'm going after one side or the other because it's always in the middle. The people who didn't want Cam Ward to be the quarterback, they wanted to trade the pick back in last April. They're looking at all this and saying, see, I told you so. Cam Ward's not very good, and they should have moved on, and they should have taken the Giants offer. Then you've got the people who love Cam Ward, and he can do no wrong, saying, ignore it completely. This doesn't matter at all. It's in the middle. You can't ignore this completely. You would rather your number 1 overall pick quarterback look better in June of his second year. But it also doesn't mean he's a bust. We went through some headlines from last year, and Justin Graver was the one who found these, of articles last year of Drake May throws 4 interceptions and struggles in OTAs. Caleb Williams is not consistently accurate in OTAs. It happens. It's June. Let's just let this play out. And guess what? If we're having these conversations the entirety of training camp, and this is still an issue heading into the season, then I think it might be time to hit the panic button. But it's the 4th open practice of OTAs. Let's not freak out because of a couple of bad throws here and there. Let's let him have the time to develop in this new offense, hopefully fix some of his mechanical flaws, and we'll see what happens when he actually starts playing football later on in the year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's all a matter. And this is even at 49 years old, I'm still learning lessons, right? And I had a situation where I handled a situation with too much emotion, right? I shouldn't have handled it that way. And it resulted in more than what it should have been, right? Yeah. No different from what we do as media. You can't get so emotionally attached to a result.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, our job is to relay what it is we see. And then again, it unfortunately, in many cases, what we see is not what's actually happening. And then on top of that, we're very emotional with the way we relay it, as far as emotionally tied to the result.
Right.
And that's a problem. And what ends up happening is you get so many people misled because unfortunately, fans aren't able to be at OTAs. They're not able to be at minicamp. They're able to be at some of training camp. But by the time they get to see the team, there's somewhat of an opinion formed based off of uninformed opinions. You know what I mean? So it's just like a cycle. It's like I remember I remember a coach in college, right? I remember our center, Kevin Long. He was one of the team captains at one point. And I remember the coach turned to him. He said, "Son, I admire your leadership and your motivation, but you're going to lead us to hell, son, and I'm not going with you." That's exactly what's happening with some of the people in the media and the fans.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you have thoughts on this. Again, Cam Ward, it hasn't been a great week of OTAs for him. He'll have a chance to bounce back today, and we will see Titans back out on the practice field later this morning, and Robert Saleh will speak at 10:45. Because of that, we've only got a couple more segments with TD. We'll get his thoughts on some other stories around OTAs. We'll start with some of the veteran free agents who we haven't seen much of so far this summer. 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Nick Frazier, next man up. 1025 The Game.
Might be about you. No such things as halfway crooks. They shook, cause ain't no such things as halfway crooks. He said to all the killers and the $100 billers, to real who ain't got no feelings. Yo, that right there is one of the hardest hip hop beats ever. So in the beginning, right, the way it starts, it goes. So the dude Havoc that produced it, he was going to make ramen noodles in the projects one time. And if you ever been to projects, you know when you start the burner, it doesn't light at first. It goes. He did that, and he was like, hold on, I'm going to make this into a song. And that's what he did. And then he pulled 3 different songs and made that into the beat. That's your hip-hop lesson for the day, folks.
There we go. The more you know with Turron Davenport. And got to give credit to Nick Frazier filling in admirably with Parker Kelly not in today.
Yeah.
Try my best.
He knew what to play. They play that at the Knicks games, too.
They do.
They play during the game. That's the thing that's crazy.
Yeah. What was it? The first one was New York related, too, right, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
You got a little theme here.
Little
Ja
Ja Rule
Rule
action.
And you know what? To his credit, he's doing a good job because the regular cuts of those are X-rated, man.
There you go. Nick Frazier, he's an old pro at this point.
Yes,
he
sir.
knows what he's doing.
Give him a raise, Chase.
4 years in the making, right?
We've got TD for a couple more segments here. Our time with Turron Davenport is presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. TD, we talked about Cam Ward. Another storyline around Titans OTAs this week has been we haven't seen much of some of the big ticket free agent pickups the Titans have made. John Franklin Myers, Alante Taylor, Cordell Flott. Some of them have been out there maybe working on side fields, but have not been working in for team reps. Does that concern you at all? That some of these guys the Titans spent a ton of money on haven't been out there for the last couple of weeks?
No, because there's a word that's in front of OTAs that we always drop, and it's voluntary. You know what I mean? The one Jeff was there on Tuesday. He didn't do anything, but he was in uniform on the sideline. He came out a little bit later during team period. It's his routine. He works out in Dallas. He didn't come to OTAs last year, and you know, I don't know. Just looking back on it, I think he had a pretty solid season.
Think you could say that.
John Franklin Myers. Now, I get the optics, right?
Right.
I get the optics. I'll put it this way. If you're not there, there's got to be a darn good reason, right? And to me, a darn good reason is if your routine is always trained with this guy, do it, right? Because you don't get time to do that during the season. So if to prepare for the season, you have a dedicated person that you trust to get you ready, so be it. Now, I don't know John Franklin Myers' situation. He is the one that we just haven't seen, period, right? Cordell Flott, he worked on the side field one time. Haven't seen him other than that. Haven't seen him on the field. You know what I mean? But look, there's some guys who like Alante Taylor's been missing this week. Okay, you know what? It is what it is. It's voluntary. I'm not going to put too much stock in it. These guys are veterans. I trust themselves to get ready. Now, if training camp comes around and they're not ready, I'm not going to go back and say, oh, well, you missed voluntary OTAs, and that's why you're – I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wonder, okay, what did you do during that time? Did you really take advantage of the situation?
Right. And for John Franklin Myers, I heard Paul Kuharsky say this yesterday on Robbie and Rex Road of like defensive and offensive linemen. Yeah, it's nice for you to be there. And on the offensive line, maybe a little bit more important because you're building the chemistry with those guys that you're working in a unit with. But for John Franklin Myers, like, am I really all that worried that he's missing a few unpadded practices in June? Not really. I mean, I'd like to see Alante Taylor and Cordell Flott out there. I think it could be good for them to work, one-on-one against some of these receivers. And I think it could be good for the receivers to get to work against some of the top guys that the Titans have on the other side. But if I was going to be concerned about a free agent pickup missing time, it would be like Wan'Dale Robinson. And he's been out there pretty much the entire time, if not the entire time. I think that's the type of guy that needs to be there because you're working into a new system with your quarterback. You're building that camaraderie. Those are the reps I really care about rather than John Franklin Myers getting some unpadded practice time here 3 months before the season starts.
Right, exactly. And I think it's great of you to point out the Wan'Dale Robinson and Cam Ward connection because that right there, and we talked about this on listen, folks, if you haven't listened to Talking with TD, make sure you listen to it this week because Chris Sanders and I we went deep on the receiver and quarterback connection and why it's so important for these guys to get together. Yeah, I'll plug it. So what? I think when you look at this, that relationship is so important. And that's one of the areas where you really see a need for improvement. The inaccuracy, it's 100% evident, right? With Ward and Wan'Dale Robinson. And there have been some misses where it's like, come on, you got to hit that. You know, there was a Chig ran, you know, his signature transcontinental crossing route. Shout out Coach Mack, rest in peace. He went to hit him on that and he dirted it. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that you got to get right. But the Wan'Dale Robinson one is the most important because these are routes where it's you have to be on the same page. Like, he's not throwing to Wan'Dale Robinson. He's throwing to a spot that Robinson is supposed to be at. And if Robinson doesn't get to that spot and doesn't read it the same, it can make Cam Ward look really bad, right? Because it can make him look really bad. And that a media person that doesn't know what they're watching and say, oh, you know, Cam Ward is terrible. He threw it right to the cornerback. No, he didn't throw it right to the cornerback. He threw it to the spot Wan'Dale Robinson was supposed to be. Wan'Dale didn't go there, and that's why it was intercepted. Again, this is where context is important. But to bring it back home, that timing has to be there. And if it's not, there's an issue.
Yeah, and as we said, it's too early to freak out about any of this. But Corey Curtis brought up a good point yesterday that 2 seasons ago, this was the conversation with Will Levis and Calvin Ridley throughout all the offseason training camps. They can't get on the same page. Oh, but they'll figure it out. Like, it takes time. They'll figure it out. I don't know if we want to be doing that again with Cam Ward and Wan'Dale Robinson or Carnell Tate, whoever it ends up being. You want to see those guys on the same page from the get-go, and hopefully that starts this week, next week, and carries over once we get to, you know, training camp and the preseason and later in the summer.
I'll say this, though. The Will Levis and Calvin Ridley connection, that was more on deep passes.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's a lot easier to connect on a 10-yard whip route. You know what I mean? Or those types of things. Really, this situation is different in that you need to be on the same page as far as reading things the same.
Yeah.
It's not hard to throw to a spot. You know what I mean? But you got to make sure you're on the same page to be at that spot.
100%. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Last call if you have any phones for TD. He's only with us for one more segment. We'll get into some more Titans topics coming up next. All of our football offseason coverage is brought to you by Tennessee Brewworks. From kickoff to last call, Tennessee Brewworks, the official craft beer of the football offseason here on ESPN 1025 The Game. One more segment with TD coming up after this. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Nick Frazier, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game.
You have
Jake
no
Lyman,
clue.
Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. Excuse me, Nick Frazier. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
like
It's a
this,
force
sit
of
down.
habit. We are.
Yeah.
I'm adjusting to some different producers this week, but Nick Frazier's done a great job. I see
Isn't that
TD
song?
vibing in studio again.
I love old school music, man.
We've got TD for one more segment here. He's live in studio. I am out at the beautiful Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Great event here on a gorgeous day in Hermitage. Before we let TD get out of here, let's get to the phones. We got some callers on the line, and we start with Trey. Has a question about Cam Ward. Trey, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing awesome. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I just wanted to say, and I have a question. I just want to say, we're not going to go back to where we were last year as far as speaking about Cam Ward accuracy, his touch, his mobility. We cannot go back to speaking of that. Okay, we need to watch all of what he did last year, just throw it out of the window, because this year is the defining year for Cam Ward. This is his, I'm going to be on the map year for Cam Ward, simply because last year he wasn't taught how to be a quarterback. This year, there's no excuses. It's either he's going to be a brand within himself or he's going to be a flop. It's just it.
Trey,
And I hope.
I can't agree to that, Trey. I can't agree to that. I think he could continue to progress. I think if he's inaccurate, we gotta talk about it. Like, if he's inaccurate, we gotta talk about it. That's something that has to be discussed. And I think when you look at this, there's like, we're just so stuck in the microwave mindset, and that, okay, year 2, you got to be an all-pro, where it's a progression. And you made a point where you said last year you felt he wasn't coached to be a quarterback. So if that was the case, in essence, this is his rookie year, right? So I just think we got to give you got to give it time. That's what I think.
Yeah, we have to give it time. But there has to be more improvement than last year, TV.
Yes, there has to be progress. Because if you're not making progress, guess what you're doing? You're regressing.
Exactly. All right. I love y'all.
Much love, Trey. Appreciate
Thanks
you.
for the call, Trey. I'm glad to see that Trey at least has an open mind about Cam Ward, unlike about 8 months ago, where he was calling in every day saying Cam Ward's a bust. So, Trey at least has opened his mind to the possibility that Cam Ward can get better. Let's go back to the phone lines. John is on the line. John has a question about Alec Iamander. John, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Absolutely. How we doing, fellas?
What's up, John?
Hey, I just had a question. I mean, Alec Iamander had about 515 yards last season. I thought he was real good.
Yeah.
But adding Cornell Tate and Wandale Robinson, what kind of role you think he's going to play this year?
That's a good question. One thing I like, so if you go back to Tuesday's practice, now Cornell Tate didn't take part in it. Alec Iamander worked. He got a lot of work. I'll put it that way. We're not really supposed to say where, et cetera. But Cornell Tate wasn't there, so Iamander got a lot of work. And one of the things that I saw them do was go to him on deep passes a couple times. So I say all that to say, those 3rd and 17, those 2nd and 20 type of situations, I think he's going to really be a key player in that, because that back shoulder throw is something that he and Cam Ward seem to have somewhat of a vibe at, right? Or even just the ability to find open grass and for Ward to extend the play while he does that. I think that's something that is going to continue to show. I don't think I'll be surprised if he has 500 to 600 yards, but I think, long story short, he's going to be a situational guy that will help him out and have some key catches. Not a lot of catches, but have some key ones.
Yeah, I like that. I'm kind of looking for him to fill that Calvin Ridley role, maybe when he gets too old.
You know what? I feel you. I think he is more suited for an on the ball X receiver, but like he's that guy that you like to have backside. Like you let's say he's at the X, right, and he's lined up on the left. You want the play call to go to the right with the backside, with the progression to that backside deep in breaking or that post or those types of things. Get him isolated one-on-one backside and take advantage of that. And I think that's really where his best role is. But I'll say this, since you mentioned Calvin Ridley, I think Ridley could have a 700 to 800 yard season, and I think really he may be able to surprise some people. Right now, he's not working during team period or 7-on-7. He's working on the side, right, running routes, and they're basically monitoring the impact, and the usage of that leg. It was a severe injury, so they're bringing that along gradually. Brent Callaway, who came from Exos in Frisco, and after that, the Dolphins last year. He's there now, and he's one of the main, well, not the main guy, but he is the guy that really is working with on the side field.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Tighten up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for the call, John. I think Alec Ayaman, or we've talked about this, TD. I think the wide receiver group looks on paper to be the deepest it's been in a long time. You've got a top 5 pick in Carnell Tate, big ticket free agent Wan'Dale Robinson, veteran Calvin Ridley, and then the 2 second-year guys who I think DK and Ayaman are slotted into better roles for year 2 than they were in year 1, where they were asked to do a lot on the offensive side of the ball. I think, like you said, you might be able to put them into situations that best fit their skill sets.
Right. I mean, look, they were asked to basically, along with Chig, and Gunningham, kind of carry the receiver part of it.
Yep.
And that's one thing, right? You look at Cam Ward, and it's funny because, like, with Justin Herbert, like, this dude had Mike Williams, Keenan
Allen was still there, yeah.
A solid tight end, Austin Eckler, a decent O-line, and they're like, oh, well, he's still getting better. You got to give him time. Cam Ward had no slight, but Cam Ward had 2 fourth-round receivers
and Van Jefferson
and Van Jefferson as his primary receiver, and no one's like, and we know that offensive line, there were trouble spots on that offensive line, and no one's like, hey, well, he needs. It's just interesting how the paradigm, to use the business term, is different from quarterback to quarterback.
TD, appreciate you coming on. Quickly, before we go, talk of wide receivers. Carnell Tate missed practice Tuesday. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of concern for him.
No, they expect him to be out there today. So we'll see in about hour and a half or so. We'll see for sure. But, yeah, they expect Salah said that it's nothing major, and he could very well be out there today. And that was on Tuesday when he said that.
Love it. Love it. TD will be out at Titans OTAs. Final day of OTAs today. Robert Saleh going to speak at 10:45. Make sure you keep up with TD. _NFL on X for all of your Titans coverage. TD, thanks for coming on. We'll do it again next week.
For sure. Appreciate you.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, I am live out here at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. We'll be out here until noon. We'll talk some Preds coming up next. Adam Vingan had a very interesting poll of Preds fans that he released the results for yesterday. I wanted to highlight some of those results coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Nick Frazier, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game, second hour on this Thursday. Jake Lyman live from Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Nick Frazier is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly BI membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Big thanks to Turron Davenport for joining us for an abbreviated TD Thursday before he has to get out for Titans OTAs today. Dr. Crane, it's just you and me the rest of the way.
All right, let's have a little extra fun here.
Yeah, let's do it. We got lots to get to. I know for you, and we can get more into this later, but for you, it's a big day as our resident soccer expert. The World Cup opens today.
It is going to be a fun day. Obviously, at 2:00, still be on the air with Chase and Big Joe, but I've never missed an opening game to the World Cup, so I'll be definitely having my eyes on it for sure.
All right, yeah, Chase and Big Joe. If you throw it a break and you don't hear the commercials for a second, Nick's just celebrating, what is it, Mexico and South Korea?
Africa.
South Africa,
yeah.
yes. That's what, yeah.
I think that's also a rematch for the 2010 World Cup Open game. I'll have to double check on that because South Africa was the host that year. I think it was Mexico they played. I don't know. I have to double check that.
Yes, and South Korea and Czechia are the late game tonight. The U.S. starts its tournament tomorrow against, and I saw in the text line yesterday that apparently I'm pronouncing Paraguay wrong. Is that correct, Nick? I feel like that's the way I've been saying it.
Yeah, I think you're doing okay with that. I may
have let a Paraguay slip in there every once in a while.
Paraguay. I was corrected yesterday about Nevada. It's Nevada.
Yeah.
Nevada.
Nevada Josh gets on us for that on the text line. So Paraguay tomorrow, the U.S., and that is an 8:00 kick out there in Los Angeles. Dr. Crane, have you seen the results that Adam Vingan got from his offseason survey he put out there over the last week?
I have.
The results are very interesting. It's a solid sample size that Adam got, and he revealed these results yesterday on DVD. But I wanted to just highlight a couple of things. The optimism among Preds fans is very interesting, considering the team has missed the playoffs in 2 straight years, 3 out of the last 4, haven't been out of the first round in a while. 60% of Preds fans, when asked which word best describes your feelings about the current state of the Predators, picked optimistic over pessimistic, neutral, and skeptical. 60%. And most of them, I think it was because of Chris McFarland that they feel so optimistic about it. The second question on the survey was, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident are you that Chris McFarland can free the Predators from the mushy middle? And if I can do quick math in my head here, it is 75% said a 4 or a 5 about Chris McFarland. So there's a little bit more optimism about the future of the Predators than I expected there to be at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have that phrase that I've held on for a while, optimistically concerned. In this case, I would drop the concern. I would be with the rest of the majority, and that's optimistic. And again, you make a great point with Chris McFarland. There is a true sense of direction now. I'm not saying there wasn't any under Barry Trotz, but this is a changing of the guard. Obviously, Brian Poyle is, gone his separate ways with the franchise. Now there is a new face when it comes to the VP of Hockey Ops. This is a new wave of Preds identity, and I think a lot of Preds fans are excited and ready for the fall.
Yeah, I think it is Chris McFarland that is making Preds fans feel so optimistic. I think we have similar conversations about the Titans of, even though the results aren't there yet, Mike Borgonzi has instilled some confidence in Titans fans because of the decisions that he's made so far, although we don't really know how those are going to work out long term. And I think just the way he carries himself, he seems like he knows what he's doing out there. Chris McFarland, I think you feel the same way with the pedigree he has from his time in Colorado, the way he carries himself, and just the resume that he brings. I think that's why Preds fans feel so optimistic, is because you feel like you have the right guy in charge. I was a little surprised that it was as high as it was, given that in the same survey, there wasn't a real consensus on how the Preds should approach actually building this roster. When asked how should Chris McFarland approach this offseason, 60% said somewhere in between aggressively buy and aggressively sell. And I get that. Like, aggressive, I guess, maybe the wrong word, but I would like the Predators to pick some sort of direction on where they want to take this franchise, because if you want Chris McFarland to get you out of the quote-unquote mushy middle, I think you do have to go one way or the other, right? And 60% saying somewhere in the middle shows me that you believe in Chris McFarland, but you don't really know how he should go about building this team quite yet.
Yeah, and the whole trade rumors in this offseason with Dylan Larkin, not, especially in the Preds, I'm just saying in general, a player that's looking for a new, fresh start in a roundabout way. When it comes to players currently on this roster and how to address it, obviously it's too early for him to really get a good indication on that. But you look at players like Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea, you're going to try to figure out, even you could include Ryan O'Reilly in this case.
Yeah.
How do you offload those players? Because yes, they're aging by the day, but those are the guys that have most value at some point with this roster and trying to build it from the ground up.
Yeah, I do think there can be aggressively buy and aggressively sell. Maybe that's just the wording was too polarizing that people said, well, I don't want to aggressively buy or aggressively sell, but I would have liked maybe a more like a dichotomy there of like, which direction would you rather go? Would you rather embrace the young guys and get rid of a bunch of the aging guys? Or do you think that this current core can get you back into playoff contention? I don't know, but I thought that was an interesting result from Adam Vingan. A couple more things to get to. We're going to talk about the players in the next segment, but the question about Andrew Brunette, I know that he hasn't shown that he is going to be a successful NHL head coach. And so I understand it being more on the negative side with Andrew Brunette, but the same question was asked about Brunette that was asked about McFarland of how confident are you that Andrew Brunette can be part of the solution here? And 87% on a scale of 1 to 5 said 3 or less. So, a lot of them were 3s. 38% was right in the middle of, not confident, but also not completely skeptical that he can be part of the solution. I think Andrew Brunette probably is going to be the odd man out. I don't think it's going to be this year, given that we haven't heard anything on that front quite yet. But I struggle to believe that when this Preds team turns things around and is back to being in the playoffs, I don't know if it's going to be Andrew Brunette behind the bench.
Yeah, just from a roster construction standpoint and just systematically, I don't think it'd be a good idea to move off of them the first year you have a new general manager and president of hockey ops because of the system. If you change the system immediately and you're still trying to figure out the roster, it's either one or the other. You're either going to have to restructure the roster a little bit or you restructure the coaching staff. And if you decide to go I'm saying in general, if you decide to go the coaching staff route, then you're going to have to stick with the roster you have.
Yeah, and something has to change. Clearly, you weren't good enough either of these last 2 years, given the talent and the types of pedigrees that you have on this roster. So something has to change. We'll see which way Chris McFarland goes with it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Craig on the text line says, we've missed the playoffs 2 out of 3 years, and it's been almost a decade since we won a playoff series. I would say we are no longer in the mushy middle. However, as a season ticket holder, I feel confident about the McFarland hire. Now let's just hope it's the right hire. I will say, Craig, like mushy middle doesn't necessarily mean like the 15th best team in the league. It means that you are not quite good enough to be a cup contender, but also not quite bad enough to get the types of players you need to build the roster into a cup contender. That's where the Preds have lived for a long time. Of course, they had the one cup run in 2017, but for most of the Predators' existence, it's been, all right, you're good, but you're not good enough to actually get to the mountaintop. So you're left in this area where you're not getting the elite players that can allow for that kind of turnaround. So I would agree with you, Craig, that, maybe you've been on the lower end of the mushy middle for the last decade. You haven't won a playoff series, but I think that you are also in that situation where you just haven't been bad enough to get those elite level players that can turn a franchise around.
Yeah, and you hope, guys like Brady Martin can kind of take a step up and be those changing factors to a roster. I mean, we saw flashes of it last year a little bit with Ryan Ufko. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Matthew Wood.
Yep.
I mean, there are some young players in the ranks. I mean, you could say that have definitely sprouted and said, yeah, we could be here for the long haul, or they could be looked at as a trade chip, which I doubt. You got to really build from the ground up, and those are some integral pieces that you need to keep.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to chime in on the conversation here. We'll get to some of the results on players specifically, because there was one question, the one result that shocked me from Adam Vingan's Preds offseason survey, and we will get to it coming up next. 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. I am live out at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic out here till noon. Excited for a great event supporting a great cause. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you on your Thursday morning. Next man up, 1025 The Game.
Again, it's a fair question. I think, I just got here, right? So I feel like I have a good handle on the team and the prospect pool, which is very attractive, right? But it is super attractive, but prospects have to be developed, right? And they all come at different times. Some need time to cook, some, pop quick, and become, staples of the franchise. We're going to let them, they'll tell us when they're ready type of thing.
That was Chris McFarland at his introductory press conference last week. He is tasked with trying to turn this Predators team back into a contender after, as we were just talking about, being in the mushy middle for a long time. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you here on this Thursday morning. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. We're going through Adam Vingan's Predators offseason survey, and he released these results yesterday. And the one question and answer that shocked me was the power to remove trade protection from one Predators player's contract. And the fans were asked, who would you choose? And the largest slice went to Brady Shea. I understand Brady Shea has not lived up to the expectations. He was one of those big free agent contracts that the Predators handed out in the summer of 2024. But I thought for sure the answers were going to be Jonathan Marchessault or UC Saros. They were answers 2 and 3. Am I just, maybe I am completely off base here, but I did not think that Brady Shea was somebody that the Preds fans wanted to get rid of so badly.
I mean, there were times last season when you'd watch the Preds, and again, I'm not a hockey savant, but I kind of know the spacing of general sport when you're on the ice or the court or whatever. There were times where he was not in the right spot on the ice, which left a big gap for a forward to capitalize on a goal-scoring opportunity. And then, you know, you look back at the bench and you say, yeah, that was probably on Brady Shea. And again, I think the chemistry is something that has to play a factor into this with your line pairings and so forth. But yeah, that is a factor to me that was concerning watching Brady Shea.
Yeah, no, and I know he wasn't great the last 2 years, so I'm not saying that he should be on the lower end of this totem pole. Like the responses they got the least answers were Steven Stamkos, Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi. They got probably less than 10% each, maybe even total less than 10%. But I did not think Shea was going to be above Marchessault and UC Saros. I honestly kind of thought Saros would be number one, given that fans were split anyway on the decision to give him an extension in the first place. And then once they gave him the extension, he's had a couple of subpar seasons. So I thought Saros would be more than 20%. Marchessault, of course, is going to be somebody that Preds fans aren't exactly thrilled with, given he has not produced even in the same universe as he had when he was with Vegas, and has expressed some of his frustrations towards the coaching staff throughout his time here. But I did not think Brady Shea was going to be number one out of those three. I would have guessed it would have gone Saros, Marchessault, then Shea.
Yeah, and for the Saros situation, to me, I think because of the success we've seen from Justus Annunen, not only with the Preds, but also at the international level, winning gold at the IIHF for Team Finland, it just, to me, is a little bit more comforting to know that you have a solid number two, that you can kind of even the distribution out the next season, hopefully. And again, a guy like Justus Annunen is coming from Colorado, where Chris McFarland was originally at before he came to the Preds. So I don't know if there's any continuity there, if there's any similarities or relationships built in that situation, but I feel more confident in UC Saros going forward because he has a number two you can truly rely on. And that's something, if Preds fans remember with Pekka Rinne, yes, Pekka was fantastic in net, but you got to remember you also had UC Saros behind him that helped him out in the long term of his career as well.
Yeah, I think Justus Annunen is making this the complaints about UC Saros a whole lot louder, because you're seeing somebody come in younger and not being paid quite as much and doesn't have the no trade protection. And he's coming in and he's playing better. He played better down the stretch. And then, of course, you mentioned the IAHF going and winning the gold. So the UC Saros stuff, obviously, this is a hypothetical. The question was, if you could remove trade protection from one player's contract, who would you do it? You can't remove trade protection from any of their contracts. But with UC Saros, I think that's going to be a question that rages on until he starts playing better or the Preds find a way to make a decision to move him somewhere else. Couple of other questions that were on here from Adam Vingan. Again, Adam released these results to his Preds offseason survey yesterday on DVD. Question was, which 25 and under player were you most encouraged by this past season? Matthew Wood was the overwhelming winner of this one at 57% over Luke Evangelista, Justus Annunen, and others. I'm excited for Matthew Wood. I really like what we saw, especially given that they moved him and had him play center down the stretch of the season. I thought that he really blossomed once he got into that role as well after hitting a little bit of a rookie wall halfway through the season. So I was really encouraged by Matthew Wood. There's one question. Adam Vingan did a great job with this survey. There was one question that I was thinking maybe it would have been good to get Preds fans' thoughts on, which was, which prospect do you have the most confidence in that you haven't seen for an extended period of time at the NHL level? So like Brady Martin obviously played a little bit early, but he would be included in this. Am I wrong here, Nick, for saying that I'm really excited for when Igor Surin gets over here from Russia? I think that Barry Trotz took he took a big swing at a lottery ticket late in the first round 2 years ago. And based on what we've seen, again, it's in the KHL. It's not like he's, lighting up the NHL at 19 years old. But it seems like he's at least gotten a hit on that. And who knows, maybe it could turn into a home run once he gets over here. I know Brady Martin is the top 5 pick, and he's going to be one of the key cogs to building this next core. But I am excited for what Igor Surin could bring when he finally gets over to North America. It won't be this upcoming season, but hopefully the year after that.
Yeah, I mean, the guy played really well recently. Had 57 games, had 37 points, 15 goals, and 22 assists. It's not too bad, along with the KHL playoffs. I mean, in 22 games, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 total points. That's promising. That's promising for a young player. And, yeah, I mean, those big swings that Barry Trotz had in his general manager tenure, you're going to really have to hope those – I don't want to put any negative hope on that, but more of an optimistic hope. Hopefully those really work out for the franchise as a whole, because that's what your concrete foundation is going forward. And like talking about Brady Martin just a second ago, yeah, that's a promising prospect as well. But you're right. Igor Surin is one of those players that it's the optimistic excitement of the unknown. That's what I think a lot of Preds fans are excited about.
Right. Maybe it's just because he's this shiny new toy that you haven't gotten to play with yet, right? Like he's over there in Russia and you're hearing good things, but prospects they're like cars. It's like they're great, and then you drive them off the lot and they lose value, right? Unless they turn into a superstar. So we don't know what any of these guys are going to be, but I am encouraged given that when they took Surin, it was considered a really high-risk, high-reward move. He was a young guy who you really didn't know a whole lot about, but he's clearly proven something over there in Russia, and I'm excited to see him when he does get over here. Last thing on Adam Vingan's Preds offseason survey, I was intrigued by the split on the question, when do you expect the Preds to make the Stanley Cup playoffs again? It was almost just completely split into quarters. 29% said 2028, 2029. So not this season, not the next season, but the one after that. About the same, 28% said not this season, but next season. Another quarter said 2029, 2030, and beyond. And then 19% said this upcoming year. So I do think that there is optimism around this Predators team, but it is funny to see, just based on the different sections of the fan base, how quickly they expect the progress to be made with Chris McFarland now sitting in that top chair over at 501 Broadway.
Yeah, it's that microwave society, man. Everybody wants that win now situation. I mean, I'm in the quarter of the red, which is 27-28. You got to give it a little bit of a grace year, see what happens. Obviously, we've already spoken on the whole Andrew Burnett situation. If he's around, what players are going to be on this roster. I mean, you have to give it 1 year, and that's when you can get a true synopsis of the evaluation of a guy like Chris McFarland and his staff that's under him. So I think it's a wait and see thing for one season, but after that, that's when I'd say the clock starts to tick a little bit.
I'm going to go with it's not a majority, right? It would be the plurality, the largest section of it, even though it's not more than 50%. I'll go with 2028, 2029. I think this team is due for a couple of years where they take a step back. I don't think the next 2 seasons are going to be playoff seasons for the Preds, but you hope when they do start to make that run, if they get there in 2028, 29, there's a difference between getting into the playoffs and if you lose and feeling like, man, we're not going to be better next year. I think they're going to have to take a couple years to get ready. But once they get to the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think they're going to be ascending. And hopefully it's not too long after that they return to the playoffs and actually can be dangerous once they get there.
Yeah, and one player that you were kind of mentioning was Matthew Wood about those young players under 25.
Yep.
Another player that was in there, which is a quarter of the vote, almost quarter of the vote, was Luke Evangelista.
Yeah.
To me, that's who takes the cake for me as a youngster that has a lot of promise. After that little contract he signed, that 2-year deal for the most part, it was more of can he live up to that? And I think we've seen this past season with 12 goals and 44 assists that he has the intangibles to do that. Is now he has to build off of this entire season that he made a great resume for himself. So again, I would give a big old A+ next to Barry Trotz's name for that contract because it was negotiated well, along with Evangelista capitalizing that on the ice.
Yeah, Barry Trotz had his mistakes for sure as a GM, but I think there are also a lot of good things that you can point to that have set up the Preds to have a future and the core coming up among the young guys already at the NHL level and the prospects that we should see soon. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Nice job by Adam putting that together. I think those results are really telling about where the Preds fan base sits at a really crucial turning point with Chris McFarland coming in to be the new president of hockey operations and general manager. 615-737-1025. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Durham Bulls at First Horizon Park, and first pitch is at 6:35, and you can catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina. We will step aside. Again, I am live out at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic, getting geared up for a great day of golf benefiting a great cause, and it is a gorgeous day. You know, hoping the heat subsides a little bit, but it is a really nice day out here at the golf course. Excited for this event. When we come back, we'll get back into some football. Titans will hit the practice field coming up within the next hour. Robert Saleh going to speak at 10:45. We'll react to anything he has to say. And I also saw a headline earlier this week about a certain NFL quarterback that I wanted to touch on. We'll do that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you on your Thursday morning. I am live at Hermitage Golf Course, the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic, getting ready to get started later on today. Excited. Looks like it's going to be a full house out here. And again, it is a beautiful day in Hermitage. Nick Frazier is back at the controls at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. It is a TD Thursday, but Turron had to get out for Titans practice, which is getting underway within the next 30 minutes to an hour. Robert Saleh going to speak at 10:45. All of our appearances with Turron are presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. And if you missed it, you can check it out on the podcast or on our YouTube. TD joined us for the full first hour. Nick, I wanted to talk about NFL quarterbacks in general here. And I saw a headline this week about Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as he's trying to renegotiate a contract. He is a free agent at the end of this year, ending his, I believe it was a 3-year, $100 million contract he got with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And my question is, should the Bucs pay him? Like, should they re-up with him? Or, we always talk about the idea of going out into the wilderness and hoping you can find a better quarterback. I would lean that Tampa should just cut their losses and move on. Baker Mayfield, in 3 seasons, he averages 12 interceptions a year. The Bucs are 3 games above 500 in 3 seasons with him as the starting quarterback. Now, it's not horrible. He's had really good moments, including early on in this year where he looked like a possible MVP candidate, but fell off a cliff towards the end of the year, and they end up blowing the division lead to the Panthers. They're just one of those teams that I look at and say, I understand you don't know if you can get better, but Baker Mayfield's never going to be the quarterback that's going to get you to a Super Bowl. And I wouldn't hate if Tampa Bay said, you know what, if you want to get paid, you're going to have to do it somewhere else. We're going to go try and find somebody younger.
I'm kind of in the boat that they should pay him because, there's no discredit to Mike Evans, okay? Mike Evans, fantastic wide receiver. Obviously, last year he had the injuries, getting up there in age. But I feel like that offense revolved too much around him. When he was in the game plan, you have to throw him the high point balls in the red zone and or just downfield, just to get him to his contract incentives of 1,000 yards for the season. Obviously, that didn't happen last year because of the injury. But you look at Chris Godwin, who's coming back from injury, Emeka Egbuka, who is a rising talent in the NFL. Jalen McMillan is their wide receiver 3 on this team. You have Jake Browning as your backup quarterback. But I just think when you have certain – let's not forget as well, Cade Otton is their tight end. There are certain pieces to this offense that can really gel. And if you bring in another quarterback, sure, he may be right for that system. But again, the chemistry, it takes time. If the Bucs are looking to possibly try to win a Super Bowl within the next 2 to 3 years, go and sign Baker to a 3-year deal. I know that's probably not the years he's probably wanting, but I would be inclined to say, yeah, give me Baker instead of, Joe Schmo either in the draft. It depends on who's the draft, but either the draft or in free agency.
Yeah, I think Tampa's going to pay him because a lot of NFL teams are scared of wandering into the wilderness at quarterback and seeing what they Sam Darnold is a perfect example of this. The Vikings felt like, oh, we drafted a guy, we can move on and we'll be fine. And Vikings would really like to have Sam Darnold, who just won a Super Bowl right now. So I think with the Bucs, yeah, you would be moving on from a guy who is average. I think Baker Mayfield is an average NFL quarterback. Is that good enough for you? Knowing that, yeah, if you draft somebody, there's a chance that they're just horrible, right? They're not average and you end up being bad. But I think the upside of going after somebody that you feel has a higher ceiling than Baker Mayfield, I think could be really helpful. With Tampa, I put them into a group of teams. Like there's different groups of teams and the feelings that they have about their quarterback. There are the teams that have their guys, right? They have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. There's no doubt about it. They've got their guy for the next 10 years, and you don't have to worry about it. Then there's like younger teams that feel like they might have their guys. I would put the Titans in there. The Titans are hoping Cam Ward is the guy. I would put the Texans in there with C.J. Stroud. They haven't paid him yet. But there's the group of teams that are paying players like they have their guys, but they don't. And it's not just Tampa. Like, I think Jacksonville could fall into that category with Trevor Lawrence.
The Colts.
At least that one's only a 2-year deal,
True.
right? So, you at least are not super invested in him. And maybe they think maybe that's what they would do with Baker Mayfield, is you extend it a year or two, make sure he's not lame duck, for lack of a better term, heading into this year. And that's the way you handle it. I just think Tampa falls into that group. I would even put Dallas in this group with Dak Prescott. And I like Dak Prescott. I think he is a good NFL quarterback, but he's been at it for 10 years now, and they still haven't been past the divisional round of the playoffs. At what point does Jerry Jones say, this isn't good enough, we need to go find somebody else? That group of teams that gets caught in the mushy middle, we just talked about it with the Predators, where they're paying a guy like he's their franchise quarterback, but he's not in that elite group of players that should be getting paid like that. I'm interested to see what Tampa Bay does here and if they actually elect to extend Baker Mayfield and keep him as their quarterback for the future.
Yeah, I mean, they have some, key pieces on that offense that you can build around with Baker. It's just a matter of the buy-in. I think that's the big issue for Tampa's, I guess, offensive scheme, is the buy-in process around Baker. We saw last year, especially in their division when they went up against Carolina, that division was done and dusted by about week 15, week 16. Tampa should have finished that off, but they didn't, because Baker, he held on to the football too much. And what happened? That put them in a 3rd and long, 4th and long. He ended up fumbling the football, and Carolina ended up just going underneath them and taking that entire division, which I thought was just kind of crazy. You can't have those moments, is the best way to put it. You just cannot have that with Baker Mayfield. If he can eliminate those, I'd see him in Tampa for the next 5 to 6 years. I really could.
Well, he's got double-digit interceptions in each of the last 3 seasons with Tampa Bay. He's coming off his worst season in terms of completion percentage, touchdowns, yards per attempt, and yards total. So is he ascending still? I think you know what Baker Mayfield is, and he's a guy who's going to have you in the 7 to 10 win range. And if that's good enough for Tampa Bay, then great, they can keep him. I think teams should always be looking for the quarterback they feel can get them to the Super Bowl. That is the ultimate goal of every team. And that's why with the Titans, I was on board with Cam Ward, because maybe he ends up being a bust. Definitely on the table, as it is with every quarterback you take in the draft. But the ceiling and the upside of taking a young quarterback with tools gives you the ability to possibly find an elite guy. And in this era of football, having an elite quarterback is really important. Now, it's not everything. We saw it last year. I wouldn't say Sam Darnold is an elite quarterback. He's a really good quarterback, but they had a great defense, and they surrounded him with a lot of talent, and they won the Super Bowl. You don't need the elite quarterback. But Chip from Mount Juliet points out Trent Dilfer took a team to the Super Bowl and won. The Trent Dilfer era is over, right? I think it's over where you can get to a Super Bowl and win it with a quarterback like that. Baker Mayfield, I think, is an average quarterback. And I think if Tampa Bay wants to stay above water and put themselves in the conversation to win what is in a weak NFC South year over year, and the Saints right now would be the team that I look at and say maybe there's a chance they establish themselves as contenders. It depends on if Tyler Shuck is the guy. But do I believe in Bryce Young with Carolina? No, not really. Do I believe in Michael Penix with Carolina, or Michael Penix and Tua with Atlanta? Not really. And so if they want to just be 9-8 and have a chance to win the NFC South, that's fine. But I wonder at what point do you ask for better from your quarterback position? A couple other texts here. Lenny on the text line says, at least Tampa Bay is fun to watch and they win half of their games. What a concept. If that's the standard for you, then great. If you want to go 8-9 and 9-8 every year, that's fine. Yeah, and I'd rather go 8-9 or 9-8 than 3-14. That's for sure. But you should strive for better. You're trying to win a Super Bowl, and Baker Mayfield is a guy who's going to get you to 8-9, 9-8, maybe 10-7 every year. And if you're okay with that, then great. I would not be. Let's see. 8799. Dolphins did the same thing with Tua, paid him like a franchise guy. Now, his contract was bigger than Baker Mayfield's. I don't think you'd have to give him that market-setting contract, but you'd have to pay him $40-45 million a year probably, and I just don't think Baker Mayfield's worth that. I think I would rather wander into the wilderness and look for a young guy who you think has potential rather than just extend Baker Mayfield because you're worried about having a couple of years where you're not very good. The Bucs won a Super Bowl, right? They won a Super Bowl in 2020. I think they're going to have some leash if they take a step backwards to try and find a quarterback. I think they have some leash from the fan base.
Yeah, maybe so. If you move off of Baker Mayfield and say, yeah, you know what, he's not the guy of the future, then you got to offload a few other players on that roster. Like that's the thing that I have a tough time with. And again, that may sound kind of crazy, but you look at players like, just for example, Vita Vea as your nose tackle. You could play for him for a long time. I know defense is different from offense. I think you might be able to move off of players like that. I mean, you kind of look at players like, I hate to say it, Chris Godwin, who's been injured multiple times. How much of a resource can he be for that next quarterback? I think if you're trying to really turn the page, keep guys like Bucky Irving, keep guys like Emeka Ibuka and Cade Otton, who you know are core pillar guys on your offense. Yes, it's a tough thing to do when you have a player like Godwin who's just been nothing but a key piece to that Tampa Bay franchise. But sometimes you have to make that hard decision and turn the page.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you have thoughts. Lenny on the text line also says, what do you want? I get tired of paying the money that I paid for my season tickets to watch a team that can't even compete for the last 2.5 years. So, yeah, that would be great. I get it, Lenny. Like, I understand. I would rather have watched my team play like the Bucs for the last 2 years rather than go 6-28. 100%. I'm on board with you on that. But you have to look at the trajectory of the team and the trajectory of the quarterback. And sure, 9-8 is fine if you're used to going 3-14. Titans went 9-8, we'd all be thrilled around here. But if you go 9-8 5 straight years or whatever it is, or in that range, don't you ask for more? Right? Like, don't you ask to try and go compete for championships instead of just sitting there in the middle and saying, no, this is good enough. This is better than being 3-14. I think you have to have higher standards than that. 615-737-1025. We'll take a break. We'll get to your thoughts on this coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier. I am live out here at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Next man up here on 1025 The Game. Up 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier alongside you on this Thursday morning, wrapping up the second hour of the show. I brought up the question about Baker Mayfield and his contract dispute with the Bucs. They're working through it, seeing if he can get extended. And I just asked the question, like, is it worth it to pay Baker Mayfield and continue to just be 8-9, 9-8? And I understand what some people are saying. Dylan says not elite, but good starting NFL quarterbacks are still extremely hard to come by. You don't just move off them once you get them. You definitely pay Baker and then try to surround him with more talent. And I understand what you're saying. I just think that's easier said than done, right? We've seen a lot of teams try and do that, and sometimes it works out. Again, I'll keep bringing up Sam Darnold as a perfect example of he's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but they surrounded him with enough talent that they were able to go win a Super Bowl. So, but I don't think Baker Mayfield's as good as Sam Darnold, at least right now. Craig on the text line said, I'm going to need you to find a young quarterback with talent energy next offseason when I'm calling for the Titans to take CJ Carr if we are in position to do so. And I texted him back. I was like, if the Titans are picking at the top of the draft, like if they have the first overall pick next year, and Cam Ward was not injured for the majority of the season, if he played, 13, 14 games, whatever, somewhere in that range, I'd probably agree with you. If Cam Ward in 2 years has you picking at the top of the draft again, the leash is longer for first overall pick quarterbacks, but it's not that long. And I would agree with you. If there's a quarterback there, CJ Carr, whoever it would be, I'd probably agree with you that it would be time to move on. But it would also be very tempting to take Jeremiah Smith in that scenario too. And Nick Frazier, I know you'd be on board with me there.
Absolutely. Jeremiah Smith, look, he's on the top of everybody's draft board. He's been on top of my draft board since last offseason.
See, and that's why I wanted to qualify it with as long as Cam Ward is not injured in this scenario. Because if he was injured, like if he gets hurt in week 1 and misses the whole season, Mitch Trubisky plays and you go 3-14 and you're picking first overall, I don't think you can just bail on Cam Ward. You either trade that pick for a king's ransom or you run that card to the podium and you take Jeremiah Smith and reunite him with Carnell Tate. But yeah, if Cam Ward's healthy and they're one of the worst teams in the league this year again, I would say that I don't believe that's going to be the case. I think they're going to be better this year. And as long as they are better, and better means probably at least 6 wins, then I think there's no chance Cam Ward gets replaced before the 2027 season. But yeah, if they're horrible again and he's a main cause for it, then Craig, I'm on board with you that it would be time to go try and find another young quarterback who you think has a high enough ceiling that you can get to a Super Bowl eventually. I'm liking the conversation here. And Nick, I think there's a lot of teams that are kind of stuck in this spot with their quarterback. We just saw the Dolphins pay an extraordinary amount of money to get out of the Tua contract. Now, I don't think these teams are there yet, but Tampa Bay would be one of them. I mentioned Dallas, Jacksonville. And then I think eventually even Detroit could be in the position where it's like, we got to go find a quarterback who has a higher ceiling than Jared Goff. Jared Goff almost got them to the Super Bowl. He was a half away a couple years ago against San Francisco, but came up short. And, they haven't lost in the divisional round 2 years ago to Washington, missed the playoffs this year. I would put them in this same category of like, it's a good quarterback. It's a good NFL quarterback. No one would doubt that. But to get over the hump, do you need to go find a great NFL quarterback, which, of course, do not grow on trees. You can't find them everywhere. But if you don't take a swing, you're never going to be able to find one, right? So I think those teams are all in spots where not this year, maybe not even next year, but I think they maybe start to have to consider letting go of what's safe and going for what might actually get them to where they want to go.
Yeah, I mean, you look at prime example, like we were obviously talking about how it's hard to come by a really good quarterback. I think the best example for all this is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the trials and tribulations he's been through with New York, they surrounded him around a bunch of really good players offensively and defensively, ruptures his Achilles. That's in the wash, right? Then follows up with that, trying to come back, figure out who he is as a quarterback, has another stint with the Jets, and then after that goes to Pittsburgh. Talk about a franchise that is scared to put their foot in the water for another quarterback, minus Aaron Rodgers. They're worried. Like they're genuinely worried that I don't want to go in the 3-foot kiddie pool, or do I even want to step my toe in the water? Because Aaron Rodgers is easily one of the best game managers of all time when it comes to NFL football. And he, again, at the age of 42, 43, he still is playing at the highest level because that franchise has surrounded him with really good talent defensively and offensively. And I think that's what you're going to have to do going forward when there is a small, I'd say a small pool of quality quarterbacks coming into the league from the draft.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Pittsburgh is the franchise that is scared to make that move. They tried to do it with Kenny Pickett. And, Kenny Pickett wasn't the first overall pick. He was, 19, somewhere in that range, like late teens, early 20s. And he wasn't very good. He was the first quarterback taken that year, but he wasn't very good. And so since then, Pittsburgh has said, you know what, we're going to go with veterans and half measures at quarterback and see if we can find somebody. And by half measures, I mean taking Will Howard late and seeing if you can develop him, taking Drew Aller in the third round. As we saw with Malik Willis and Will Levis, it's like, you can only take half measures for so long. Sometimes it hits big. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick. That's one of those options where you can look and say, all right, they took a guy in the second round. He turned out to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But I agree with you that Pittsburgh's in that situation too. But for Pittsburgh, I also don't think there's as much of a question of if Aaron Rodgers is going to stick around. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone after this year, and then they'll have to figure out whether they want to go with one of the young guys currently on their roster or maybe spend a first-round draft pick on a quarterback and see if they can develop that guy.
It'll be definitely tough for them. It's going to be a huge, basically a rude awakening for them because if they're not turning the page for Aaron Rodgers' sake, like what I mean by that is like if they're not already planning for that replacement after him, to me, I still think Will Howard is the guy, air quotes, for them to, surround a quality cast around him so he can develop. Obviously, they have Mason Rudolph and Drew Aller, but there's something about a young quarterback, like you mentioned, that if you put the intangibles around him, they can be a serviceable player in this league. For the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing that with Aaron Rodgers right now. I think Will Howard is kind of done what Jordan Love did in Green Bay behind Aaron Rodgers, and that's learn and develop. Just sit, learn through osmosis, and see what takes him going forward.
Yeah. Jordan Love being a first-round pick, though, I think got him more of a leash.
100%.
Will Howard and Drew Aller may get some shots, whether it's later this year if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt or if they're struggling, or next year. But I don't think that they're going to be leaned upon as a possible quarterback of the future for them very long.
But that's the hand that Pittsburgh dealt to themselves, though.
Right, 100%. That's the situation they put themselves in, and you hope, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you hope Mike McCarthy is going to be able to develop some of those young guys. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got one more hour here on the program. Again, I am live at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Great event getting ready to get started. We're going to have some special guests in the 11 o'clock hour, so excited for that. We'll also update you on any news coming out of Titans OTAs. Robert Saleh was at the podium a couple minutes ago, and we will give you some updates on what he had to say coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you on your Thursday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game final hour on this Thursday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you. I am live at Hermitage Golf Course, the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic getting set to start here shortly. Nick Frazier is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Robert Saleh just spoke ahead of the Titans' final OTA. They'll have mini camp next week. A couple of news and notes here from Robert Saleh. First, he believes Carnell Tate will practice today. He did not practice on Tuesday, so good news there for the first-round pick wide receiver who has been, I'd say, the winner of OTAs to this point. He missed Tuesday after, I believe the report was he got banged up a little bit on the touchdown pass from Cam Ward back on Monday. But good news that it seems like he will be out there today. Also an update on some of the guys who haven't been out there. First off, Robert Saleh said that everybody's communicated well. He said lots of babies being born this year. So I think that gives you a hint at some of the guys that maybe you haven't heard a specific explanation for. But he did mention that Cordell Flott has been dealing with an injury the last few weeks and has been rehabbing. So there's an answer for you on why he hasn't been out there. Overall, again, we talked about it with TD, Nick, that it's not a huge deal to not have those guys out there. Like, optics-wise, it's not great. Those guys sign big contracts. But I do think as long as they're communicating and, you know, for Cordell Flott, obviously going through an injury, I'm not overly concerned about it, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and again, the word voluntary needs to be emphasized on stuff like this because those guys have their own workout regimens, their own, you know, off-season plans that they have. And I'm not talking about with family or anything like that, but I'm talking physically for them to get in shape for the season. They all have their own plans. They're well-seasoned veterans. They understand what needs to be addressed, what needs to be done. So I don't see much concern around it. I know there may be other people that might, but I'm not going to bat an eye over it, but still, it's not a big concern.
Yeah, I mean, again, optics-wise, you sign these big contracts. You'd like to see the players out there and, you know, just showing up, especially in a new system, new coaching staff. I understand why people are bringing it up, but for Robert Saleh, as long as they're communicating with them and it's not just somebody, you know, Vic Beasling and going AWOL, like, I think I don't really get all too concerned about it. A couple other things that Robert Saleh had to say, had some complimentary words for Gunnar Helm. The words he said, he looks like a legit dude. I mean, how much more complimentary can you get for a tight end? A legit dude, Gunnar Helm.
Well, I'd hope so. I mean, I would hope so. I mean, that's some complimentary words, I guess. Yeah,
there we go.
You look at a guy like Gunnar Helm, and like his intangibles speak for itself from last season. That's a guy that has a lot of room and a lot of upside just attached to his name and the way he plays.
And tight end U is coming up shortly, if I'm remembering correctly. I believe later this month, tight end U over at Vanderbilt. So I'm sure Gunnar Helm will be out there. I want to say he was out there last year with George Kittle and company. So excited to see if anything comes of that. Did have some comments on Cam Ward. Of course, I'm not surprised that I think this was one of the first questions that was asked to Robert Saleh, was asking about Cam Ward and some of the issues that he's had throughout OTAs with accuracy and consistency. Robert Saleh responded with, I think Cam Ward has been great. We're working on different things. We have a really good quarterback. Now, first off, what else is he going to say? I don't think you're going to hear the starting quarterback or the head coach of the Titans bash his starting quarterback in June and say, yeah, he's not playing very well. But I also think hopefully that's a vote of confidence for Cam Ward. Not that, I mean, I don't think he lacks for that himself, but, Robert Saleh backing up his quarterback after some criticism over the last couple of days towards the second-year first-round pick out of Miami.
I think the only criticism you could put towards Cam Ward jokingly is like maybe he's struggling with the seed oil diet. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Like there isn't really anything bad to say in that regard if you're a head coach. Like, yeah, man, the seed oil thing may not be a great thing. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Are we making that our claim here? Cam Ward's inaccuracy caused by lack of seed oils. Get him back on the seed oils and put those pounds back on.
Where are those jams at?
The jams are seed oil free.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
He needs the Uncrustables.
Yeah, toasted.
You're a toasted Uncrustable guy.
Look, I like to get fancy with the Uncrustables. Toasted, also put them in an egg wash to make them like a French toast Uncrustable. Incredible.
See, that sounds good. I honestly, is it psychopath behavior to say I like them almost frozen? Like Uncrustables, put them in the freezer, and you have to let them thaw a little bit, but like it's actually really good. I don't know if I'm alone in that boat.
Nope, I'm right there with you in that boat, man. During like 2 days for football, we would eat those right after we got off the field. Fantastic.
Well,
Better than a popsicle.
Right. It's like you freeze your Reese's, right? Like you put them in the freezer and it makes it better. I don't know what it is about the peanut butter that makes it like frozen peanut butter is good. I don't know what to say, but anyway, we do need to try some jams. The official peanut butter sandwich of the NFL.
They look tasty. Hopefully, I want to know if there's a difference you can taste with the seed oil and not the seed oil.
Yeah, that's true. We may have to do a taste test here live on air to let us know what the Titans are going through with their seed oil free diet. OTAs coming to an end, and today, I think the one thing you want to see if you're a Titans fan is just a bounce back from Cam Ward. That doesn't mean he has to be perfect. No one's going to be perfect. And again, if he doesn't bounce back, it's not the end of the world. It's June still. But when there are a whole lot of, critics coming down and writing him off and saying all this, I think you'd like to see him respond a little bit. I'm sure he hears the noise. Now, I don't think Cam Ward is listening to us or, listening to any podcasts or all over social media, but I'm sure he hears this kind of criticism. And you hope that he is able to bounce back today and go have a good day out there at OTAs to finish up before minicamp next week. But again, it's still June. No matter what happens, there's still a long way to go until we start playing real football again. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 4312 and 9255 says that they're on board with frozen Uncrustables too. So I'm not going crazy. 8395 says, did you say Reese's like Reese's? I go back and forth on that. Like, you know how I said Paraguay and Paraguay? Like I go back and forth on Reese's and Reese's. I could see it both ways. Have you heard that one both ways too, Nick?
I have. I will never question and or make fun of anybody that has a tomato reference in any case. It's not going to happen with me.
I think there are certain words that are just completely mispronounced.
Right.
But I also think there are some words that you can hear it both ways, and it's okay. I would put Reese's in that category. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got everybody on the text line on board with the frozen Uncrustables. I'm glad that I'm not crazy. Thomas on a car phone says his son loves to eat his Uncrustables frozen straight from the freezer. So there we go. I'm not alone in that endeavor. 615-737-1025. Again, I am live out here at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. We're excited to be out here until noon. We'll take a quick break and have some guests coming up later on in the hour as well. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Man up 2-5, the game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you here on your Thursday morning. We are live at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Going to have some guests stopping by before we wrap up the show at noon. And now we are joined by Dr. Simon Small, a podiatry specialist here for the NFL Alumni Association. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes with us.
Well, thanks for having me, Jake. It's good to see you, and I'm happy to be here with the NFL charities and the NFL alumni.
Well, it's a great event out here today. Why is this cause important to you, what the NFL Alumni Association does, and, of course, the great charitable efforts that are being put forth today?
Well, I've been a podiatrist for over 40 years, specializing in sports medicine and surgery, and NFL players have had a rough road,
Yes,
to be short. And so as a result, a lot of them have need for balance and control in the way that they function, not only on the golf course or on football field, but as a coach, let's say, but in normal life and walking.
And I didn't even think about it. Are you out here doing some work today, getting these guys ready to get out on the golf course today?
I am doing it not necessarily for today's golf, but in general for their lifestyle and life skills, because the fact that they have history of in problems many times has caused them to have the need for better balance. So what we do is we manufacture a custom molded orthotic, which is made from a mold of their foot. And I'm out here doing the molds of the feet today.
That's great. That is great. Again, we're being joined by Dr. Simon Small. He is a podiatry specialist. And Dr. Small, we were talking before we came on air. The Jones fracture has been a much more common injury in football lately. Derrick Henry suffered it back in 2021. I believe Nick Singleton with the Titans now has it. You were telling me that you started with that surgery way back in the day, and it's grown into what we see to now with the recovery time for those fifth metatarsal breaks.
Well, as a podiatrist, I was trained in surgery of the feet.
Right.
And one of the most interesting things was that after going into sports medicine as an adjunct to my surgical training, our very first patient that we made, which we started our company on, was Kevin McHale.
Wow.
And Kevin McHale played for the Boston Celtics, like a lot of people may know, and went on to have a tremendous career. We were there when he had a screw put in the fifth metatarsal to hold the bone in place, and then we made the foot supports, the orthotics, with a special balancing technique, which he wore for his whole career. Interestingly, it led us to outfitting all of the Celtics, and then the Golden State Warriors, and then the San Francisco 49ers, and then while we were with the Philadelphia 76er location, which is where my practice is located in Philadelphia, we became associated with and then became the doctors for the NBA referees.
Wow.
And after 15 years with them, we moved on and were taking care of the Major League Baseball umpires for their foot supports.
Right.
And then ultimately ended up more broadly and most recently with the CONCACAF, which is part of FIFA. And we just outfitted all of the referees for the CONCACAF World Cup.
And exciting there, World Cup getting started today, so that'll be great to see them out there and working with you as well. Last one for you here, Dr. Small. I mean, today, beautiful day. What are you most excited about getting out here and supporting great causes here with the NFL Alumni Association?
Well, the NFL alumni, the association looks forward to providing NFL charities with a great deal of the support. And what we do funnels into what they need in order so that they can provide that support. So we're happy to be part of the NFL alumni family.
Dr. Small, thanks for taking some time with us, and hope you shoot them straight out there today here at Hermitage Golf Course.
That would be our hope. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
nice
Dr.
to meet
Small.
you, Jake.
Nice to meet you. Great stuff there, and very fitting, given that we were talking about Robert Saleh at the podium, and he was talking about Nick Singleton working his way back from that Jones fracture issue, and we get to talk directly with Dr. Simon Small, who's worked specifically on those types of surgeries before.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see that, to be honest with you. It goes to show you there is a market for that, along with an awareness for a injury that has evolved over time.
Right. I mean, I remember when Derrick Henry got hurt, and it was the Colts game Halloween of 2021, and he finished the game, right? Like he finished the game out and no one knew anything was wrong. And then it was the next morning when you got the tweets from Schefter and Rappaport saying he had that Jones fracture. So to hear Dr. Small talk about how he started that surgery with Kevin McHale all the way back in the day, I thought that was really cool. So glad that he could stop by for a couple of minutes. Again, we will have some other special guests stopping by here at Hermitage Golf Course before we wrap up at noon at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic, which is just about to get started out here in Hermitage. Titans are on the practice field. Nick, I did want to touch on one topic that, again, I'll keep pounding the table for it. If you listen to this program consistently, you know that I am not happy with the tackle depth the Titans have. And I understand tackle depth is hard to find anywhere. But I did see an article this week talking about possibly having Jack Conklin come back as a swing tackle. It was Will Lomas at Titan Size put this out there, comparing it to Odell Beckham Jr. returning to the Giants in a different role from where he started there, but a former first-round pick coming back and rejoining the team. I'd love to see that with Jack Conklin being your swing tackle and being able to be like your third tackle in a jumbo set as well. But there's other options out there, including a possible trade target. Wanya Morris in Kansas City has apparently agreed with the Chiefs to search out trade options. I don't know how much it would cost to get him. I don't know if he'd want to go somewhere where he wasn't guaranteed a position to start, but I do think that those are two solid options to upgrade from what you currently have behind Dan Moore and J.C. Latham.
Yeah, and to the Jack Conklin standpoint of all this, like, you don't have to rely on him being an every down left tackle. But I will say, this Titans offensive line, there have been those question marks of if he is that swing tackle, you're more than likely he could evolve into a starting left tackle, which could end up hurting you in the long run a little bit because of the previous injury history. But you never know. Maybe he comes back as healthy as an ox, and those previous injuries don't have any occurrence on him going forward.
Right. No, that is fair that, Jack Conklin, I think a large reason that he ended up being let go and let walk after his rookie contract was that, he was coming off the ACL, a year before in 2019. So there was concern about whether he was going to be able to stay healthy in the long term. Obviously, he turned into a really good player for the Browns for a while he was out there, but he's still on the open market. He would be my top option, I think, as a depth piece behind Latham and Moore, because again, Austin Deculus, Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, please, you're one injury away from having one of those guys not just be on your roster, but being one of your starting tackles in front of Cam Ward. Speaking of J.C. Latham, did you see he graduated from an Auburn program this week? That's why he missed
was
OTAs.
AI.
I think it's real.
Wow.
It was like a real estate program or something like that, right?
I mean, good for him. I mean, you're in a market like Nashville. It's a booming real estate market, so maybe he understands his territory. I don't know.
Yeah, it's real estate development for professional athletes. J.C. Latham completed at the Winchester Institute, which it has an Auburn logo on it. I thought that was hilarious, but guys are going to go get the education that they need wherever they need to go. Rivalries sometimes have to take a back seat when you've got to set yourself up for the future.
Yeah, I mean, the deep-rooted rivalry of Alabama, Auburn, you're right, but still, at least go to like a satellite campus of nowhere near Auburn. Like,
I know.
Everything's online nowadays. You can easily do it from a different university but Auburn. I mean, this is just mind-boggling to me.
Well, it's also, you can get that certification, degree, whatever it is, and not post about it. I'm sure that there are Alabama fans who are not overly thrilled.
Oh, I'm definitely sure about that. And also, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to a potential swing tackle in some cases, what if the Titans start with what they have right now on the roster and say maybe we see promise in this offensive line, but yet we know they're one or two pieces off? Maybe what if they were to trade in like the third or fourth week in the season? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is I think you feel okay about your starting tackles, which is a better place than the Titans have been in previous years heading into training camp. But, I mean, Cam Ward getting hurt, obviously, is your nightmare. Like, a quarterback injury is the worst thing that can happen to a team. But I think tackles are probably next, right? Like, I think tackles are probably the second most important position that you could lose, because if you can't protect your quarterback, you're going to have a really tough time moving the football. So maybe you wait it out and see and just cross your fingers that there's no injuries, but it would really worry me heading into the season knowing that you're one tweaked ankle away from Austin Deculus being your starting left tackle.
Yeah, it just looking at the upcoming preseason, and I remember Robert Saleh saying in one of the press conferences in weeks past that everybody's going to play in the preseason. So leads me to think you're going to get your starters out there like they always do for 1 or 2 series. And if, obviously it's a small sample size, but if you see some form of concern and or lack of development in some cases, then that's where I would open up the phone line and say, yeah, maybe there is some possible shopping going on.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will take your thoughts on the Titans, who again are out on the practice field this morning for the final day of OTAs, mandatory minicamp coming up next week. Also, Stanley Cup Finals, Game 5 tonight in Raleigh. I am fired up. Carolina and Vegas tied at 2. This is a crucial game. We'll preview that. We'll also talk some World Cup with Dr. Crane and also some more fallout from the Brendan Sorsby situation. Yesterday, a PR nightmare for Texas Tech trying to handle this situation. We'll get into all of it in the final couple of segments and be joined by some special guests. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you on your Thursday. Again, I am live at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic at Hermitage Golf Course, and we are now thrilled to be joined by former Titans wide receiver Kevin Dyson. Kevin, thanks for taking some time with us today.
Absolutely, man. It's a beautiful day. After the week we had last week, worried about the rain taking over, but it's been a beautiful thing, man, for a great cause.
You know, you wish it was a little bit cooler, but, you know, you'll take what you can get, at least no rain. It's a beautiful day and a great event as well, benefiting a great cause. So what makes it so special to come out and work with the NFL Alumni Association for an event like this?
Well, I think we all have that responsibility of being former professional athletes and some probably current athletes of, you know, the people behind us that look up to communities and things of that nature to find a way to give back.
Yeah.
And this is minimal. It's really your time and your golf game that you get to give back and provide access for people that are really invested in the community and invested in the kids and things of that nature. So anytime we have an opportunity, myself and all the other guys included, man, we glad to participate.
How's your golf game right now?
You know what? For me, it's good, but for golf, it's all right. I saw a statistic where, you know, if you're able to break 90, you're upper 25, 30% of golfers. So I feel pretty good about my game in that context.
I hit 89 for the first time like 2 weeks ago, and I felt like I just won the Masters.
I'm telling
you. You know, everybody has their own standards, right?
I'm telling you, I'm just trying to get to a point I break 80. I've been close a couple times, but I just can't. I have two big 3-hole mistakes that cost me every round.
That's me too. The blow-up hole, I just can't avoid it. I can't avoid it. We won't keep you too long. We're going to give you time to warm up. But I did want to ask you about Music City Academy, the charter school you're launching starting in fall 2027. What's that process been like, and how excited are you for that initiative?
Well, man, it's like you said, proposed public high school that's taking the unifying power of sports to turn into a purpose. And we're going to obviously have some pretty stringent and extensive academics, partners with organizations throughout the community related to the field of sports, and just utilize that to fuel kids' interest and passion and student engagement. I think, man, my experiences as an educator and as an athlete, even as a child, had led me to this, providing something that I thought my preteen, my teenage, high school self would have loved to been engaged in. As we're talking on Sports Talk Radio, I didn't know I had access to this type of opportunities.
Right.
All I saw was the 22 players on the field, the 10 athletes on the court, those types of things. Now realizing there's a whole ecosystem of sports related fields that would kept me interested in school. And although I did well enough, but if I had something similar to what I'm trying to create, man, I'd have been that much more engaged. And so they're just trying to duplicate that in the community and hopefully have some success doing it.
Well, excited for that. Appreciate all your work in the community. We won't keep you. We'll let you go get warmed up. Hit them straight today, and thanks for taking some time.
I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you. And tighten up.
Kevin Dyson, former Titans wide receiver, joining us here at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Appreciate Kevin Dyson stopping by, one of many former NFL players who have made their way out to Hermitage Golf Course today for this great event. How about that, Nick? We got Kevin Dyson stopping by. Music City Miracle Zone.
Yeah, look, Nashville native. It's great to hear a voice like that for sure.
Yes, and excited to have him on. We're going to try and get some other special guests here before we wrap up. Couple of topics I wanted to hit on with you, Nick. Stanley Cup Finals, Game 5 tonight. It has been a historic series so far. Carolina, Vegas, tied 2-2. We've gotten 4 great games so far. What are you expecting tonight in Game 5?
I'm expecting a lot of goals. I know it's going to sound crazy because, Frederick Anderson was sat for, Game 4 is what it was. And
right.
That was one player that I kind of, circled the number and circled the name on the piece of paper. Is that's a player that needs to really step up in Game 1 of this series and didn't really come to that equation for it to happen that way. So now they have their backup goaltender in, that you hope that Carolina can kind of switch the tone of this entire series, because now that it's a tie ball game for this series, it's a brand new one. Like that was the thing about last night with the NBA Finals, is if New York loses that momentum shifts all the way to San Antonio. Same thing here for the NHL Stanley Cup Final, is now that Vegas's lead has now been evaporated into thin air. Carolina's right there behind them, and they're going to take advantage of it. Probably so.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it, obviously a 2-goal deficit isn't the same as a 29-point deficit, but Carolina was able to hold on after losing a lead late in that game in Game 4 and ended up winning that game by 5-3. Last night, the Spurs couldn't do it, and now they have their backs against the wall heading into Game 5 back at home in San Antonio. So excited for that one tonight. You mentioned Frederick Anderson. I mean, the question is he going to be in goal? Will it be Bussy back in there for the second straight game? Anderson was a scratch in Tuesday's Game 4, so that's going to be one of the big questions heading into that one. But I think I'm with you in high scoring. I mean, they've all been high scoring at this point. It's taken 5 goals to win all 4 games, if I'm not correct, right? All 5 games, or all 4 games, the winners ended up with 5 goals.
Yeah, I believe so. And the fun thing about this entire Stanley Cup final is that there's been goals scored within like a minute at a time, and they're not just back and forth. They're just 2 goals by Carolina, 2 goals by Vegas, and just seeing that fantastic performance by Mitch Marner the other night was something fun to watch, because if you're a Toronto fan, you're thinking, goodness gracious, we let go of this guy. We let him walk out of our doors. And then you have other Toronto fans who are like, good, get him out of here. It's just hilarious now that he doesn't have that monkey on his back that's the Toronto fan base.
Yeah, it's been rough for Maple Leafs fans, to say the least. Not only the down year that they had, they fired the coach, fired the GM, Austin Matthews might get traded, but now you have to watch Mitch Marner, who was constantly panned as a guy who couldn't step up in the postseason, probably be the Conn Smythe winner if Vegas ends up winning the Stanley Cup, especially after the performance in Game 3, one of the all-time games in Stanley Cup Finals history, with Carolina erasing that 4-goal lead and then losing in double overtime. So excited for that. World Cup also gets going today in a little over 2 hours with Mexico and South Africa. So excited for that. I think I saw, Nick, is it 17 straight days with games? And then, we start to get into some of the knockout stages and beyond.
Heaven on earth, baby. That's heaven on earth.
You love it. You love it. And see, I'm not a huge soccer guy, but I am excited. I don't know how invested I will be in games like we have today, like Mexico, South Africa. I know for you, it's like you're going to watch as much as you can, but all the U.S. games and then any of the big ones we get once we get closer to the final, it's the one time where I really enjoy watching soccer.
Yeah, for me, watching the first game of the World Cup, it's just nostalgia for me, because I remember being at my grandparents' house eating chicken cutlets and eating, broccoli that's, from the oven and stuff like that, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables out of the garden. It was like a giant party for the opening day of World Cup soccer. And that's kind of what the vibes I feel right now. It's just the butterflies in my stomach. Even though Italy's not in the World Cup, I still have a dog in the hunt, and that's the United States of America. So which is fun. It's going to be a fun one to watch. But I still have my differences about the roster construction, but that's a subject for another day.
Yeah, and we will see the U.S. in action tomorrow night. We'll have to talk about that with Connor tomorrow on the show as the U.S. gets set for their first of 3 group stage games. One thing with Nick, you and the word picture you paint when talking about food, it always gets me. Like you find a way to get my mouth water. I'm getting hungry over here.
You're welcome. I mean, look, my family, we have a group chat normally around 9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock. Hey, what's for dinner? Like that's been the go-to narrative since I was
decades.
a kid. Absolutely. Like my grandparents, when I was in grade school, funny enough, there was one time actually I went down to the office and called my grandmother and said, hey, what are we having for dinner? And that's to this day one of the best phone calls I've ever made.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will take your texts and calls. Anything you've got before we wrap up the show here. Again, I'm live out at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic here at Hermitage Golf Course. A great event, seeing all of the familiar faces, former NFL players rolling in and supporting a great cause here today at Hermitage Golf Course. Don't forget also, TD not with us. He's out at Titans practice, which is going on right now. But we did have Turron Davenport on the show in the first hour. If you missed it, you can check it out on our podcast or on the YouTube channel. Turron's appearances presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. 615-737-1025. We got one more segment with you on this Thursday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game final segment on this Thursday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you live at Hermitage Golf Course for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic, which is getting set to get underway. And we are thrilled to be joined by another special guest, former Titans defensive back Danon Sidney joining us. Danon, thanks for taking a few minutes here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, how exciting is it to be out here? Obviously a great event, so many familiar faces from the NFL Alumni Association, obviously for a great cause.
Yes, without a doubt. I love coming out here. I think this is my 6th or 7th year coming. Get to see a whole bunch of old faces, Kevin Dyson, Derek Mason. So love it, enjoy it.
Yeah, shout out D-Mace. He'll be on later with us coming up at 3. I did want to ask you, as somebody who was here when the Titans moved to Nashville and built up the new stadium, what's it like to see the new stadium, this year's one, coming up and possibly is hosting a Super Bowl in a couple of years?
Well, it's really great, to see where we came from, first coming, playing at Vanderbilt Stadium,
right?
Traveling from Memphis to seeing a new stadium come out the ground. I'm very excited. Can't wait for the Super Bowl and see what the Titans do moving forward.
Did you think Nashville was going to be a Super Bowl city when you guys first moved here?
No, I can't say that I did with the stadium we have, but like I said, Nashville has grown by leaps and bounds. And, I definitely know that we're going to show everybody a good time when the Super Bowl does come.
Again, we are being joined by Danon Sidney, former Titans defensive back. Danon, what's been going on with you, your work in the community and beyond since you retired from football?
Well, now I'm teaching. I was teaching at McGavick High School. I was teaching health and wellness. Now I've transitioned to MEGS, Middle Magnet. And I teach middle school PE. And, like I was telling one of the former players, I really got one of the best jobs in the world. I get to go to school, I get to play with the kids, and I truly love my job.
That's phenomenal and great work in the community. Before we let you go, how's your golf game?
It sucks. 1 out of 100, I'd say, is about a 2.
I mean, hey, you want lower scores in golf, right? There you go.
Yeah, that's true. But, if I just keep my balls in eyesight, then it's been a good day.
That's always the first battle that you got to win, is just keep your ball in play.
That is it.
Looking forward to it today. Hit them straight, and thanks for being out here for such a great cause.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Danon Sidney, former Titans defensive back, joining us here live from Hermitage Golf Course at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Appreciate everybody who stopped by with us. We're going to have Al Smith join us in just a second here to wrap up the show. Been a really fun event out here at Hermitage Golf Course. This is, 3rd or 4th time I've done a show out here over the last couple of years, and it's always super well put together, whether it's the 615 Open or this event here today. It's been great. Dr. Crane, you've been out here before, right? I mean, it's a beautiful course.
Absolutely. I've played the Presidents a few times, actually. So they have a really good chicken Caesar wrap as well. If you decide to go your little 9 holes, you want to go the roundabout, go grab a chicken Caesar wrap. Those are delicious.
Okay. I mean, that's a great recommendation, and I might have to end up doing that after we finish up here.
Crouton to salad ratio in it with the chicken is just perfect.
Okay. All right. I might have to end up going over there. And then, of course, I mean, when you're out there, I don't know if they're going to be out here as much in the heat, but the sheep are always fun to see when you're out at Hermitage Golf Course.
Yeah, funny story about that. Dr. Matty Haley, who's on our stations, he actually cares for those. He tends for the sheep at Hermitage.
It was you and Big Joe were out at his practice on Friday, correct?
Yes.
And I remember you guys talking about that and saying that he actually takes care of them and just comes out and checks them up. That's awesome. It's always great out here, and it's been fun being out here for the last 3 hours. I mean, you're seeing everybody from recent NFL players to legends from the past. It's really cool to be at this event, and we've got a couple more minutes with you before we wrap up. Chase and Big Joe are coming up right after us at noon, and again tomorrow we'll have Connor Newt to wrap up the week, talking plenty of Titans as they are out there on the field at OTAs right now. We heard from Robert Saleh earlier in the day. Did say that Carnell Tate expected to be on the field today, so that is good news. One of the few injury updates we got. Cordell Flott also dealing with an injury. That's the main reason why he has not been out there at OTAs so far. Again, get a couple more minutes with you here. We are going to hopefully have at least one more special guest and wrap up the show. But it's been fun today, Nick Frazier. I mean, we've hit on almost everything. Hockey, basketball. One of the greatest games I've ever seen last night in terms of comebacks. I've been thinking about it throughout the show, the conversation we had with TD early on of, is that the greatest championship comeback of all time? And I'm still going with 28-3, just because it was a winner-take-all game, as all Super Bowls are. If this was Game 7, for sure, I think that one takes the take because of the scale of the comeback and the collapse. But I'm still going to go with 28-3, just a hair above it.
Yeah, I don't know. Last night was up there. Just because I'm a Knicks fan, I'll probably, and it's just fresh on the mind, I'll go with last night's performance. But yeah, 28-3, it's up there for sure.
Yes. I still cannot believe they came back. It's one of those games when the Spurs went up 29. You're not really locked in watching every single possession. And at one point I looked up and saw it was 16. And I was like, all right, man, the Knicks are at least making it look competitive. And it's like, oh, well, now they're within 8. And it got close real fast. The Spurs collapse, end up falling behind 3-1. And they will play, I believe Game 6 is on Saturday, Nick. No game tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think there's a game tomorrow. Because they're traveling. Yeah, they have that extra day. It's weird. I don't know why the NBA does that. I don't know why they just can't travel in a day's time, but they travel a day, take another day off, and then they go back to play.
Well, the NBA and the NHL and the MLB during the World Series, when you have these series, they want to stretch them out as long as possible. So you get those extra travel days, and they want the talking point to be about the NBA through the weekend, hopefully. And then I think, honestly, once you get past Game 5 or 6, they all start being 2 days in between. So, it'll be a long week if the Spurs are able to extend it, but the Knicks will have a chance to win the NBA Finals for the first time in 50 years coming up on Saturday in San Antonio. Again, tonight, Game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Cup will not be in the building quite yet, but a huge game for Carolina and for Vegas to try and take a stranglehold on that 7-game series. We've got a few more minutes with you here live from Hermitage Golf Course. Again, we are out at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic, and we are thrilled to be joined before we wrap up by Al Smith, former All-Pro NFL linebacker and lead national ambassador for the NFL Alumni Association. Al, I know you're busy today. You're all over the place. Thanks for taking a couple minutes with us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Well, what does this event mean to you, being able to put this on for so many former NFL players and, of course, benefiting such a great cause?
Well, it means a lot to me. This is going on 16 years with this. We were able to touch many people, touch many lives, touch many communities, and being able to, give back. And one of our missions is, caring for kids, caring for community, and caring for our own. And obviously being here is caring for community in our donations and the things that we give back to the community through NFL alumni charities is giving back to kids, and that's our focus.
And how special is it just to see the buy-in from so many former NFL players? I was saying it's a who's who. You're looking around and you're seeing everybody. How special is it to see everybody who embraces this initiative that you have?
Oh no, it's very special. A lot of times, on the field, we go at each other, even opponents.
Right.
Some guys have been on the same team and have some former teammates with guys that have gone against, played against. Had a lot of battles against, have Hall of Famers here, Heisman Trophy winners here. And anytime you have that and everybody can come together, it's kind of like a family reunion. And they have the opportunity to not only fellowship, but to give back, but at the same time reconnect and, with their fellow brethren and being able to, reconnect and for a good cause. And anytime you do that is a good thing.
And again, we're talking with Al Smith, lead national ambassador and former NFL All-Pro linebacker. Last thing for you, Al, I saw that there's another event coming up in Nashville next week, the Fatherhood Festival at Tennessee State. Tell us about that event. It'll include some former legends here in Nashville.
Yeah, we have a fatherhood. Obviously, fatherhood is a big thing. We want to embrace fathers, uplift fathers. Fatherhood is a very important role. It's a very important position, as they say, and just want to be able to celebrate fathers. And because you have a strong father, strong family, strong community, we embrace that, we push that, we understand that, and we have a day going into Father's Day, before Father's Day, at Tennessee State University, the indoor facility where everything comes together. It's the whole family, not just fathers, moms, significant others, or what have you, and kids. The kids have fun. We have swag. We have gifts. We have a lot of good things. You can get different health exams, prostate, different things that'll be available health-wise. That is free to the community and be able to come out and enjoy themselves.
Al, thanks so much for taking some time. Thanks for having us, and looking forward to another great event out here at Hermitage Golf Course.
Well, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it, and having you guys out here is always a great thing.
Al Smith joining us here at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. It's been a great event. We've been thrilled to be out here all day, and that will wrap things up for us here on the show. Back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Keep it tuned right here. Chasing Big Joe coming up next here on 102.5 The Game.